aphids, saps, suckers, beetles, chewers, thrips, white flies, leaf hoppers, leaf miners, tomato hornworms, dang munchers, chicken food, bad bugs. Bad bugs, garden bad bugs. What kind of gardener doesn't dread them? Fat bugs, skinny bugs, bugs that climb up stalks, soft bugs, winged bugs, even bugs with big black dots love gardens. They all love gardens. The bugs we all call pests. Yep, Gardening 2019 at Farmer Brown's Paradise, episode 11, beating back the bugs. Hey y'all, I just wanted to let you know that, oh my goodness, I'm inserting this information here because this turned out to be an extremely long video, but I thought it was important information because we talk about bugs all the time on Facebook and how to get rid of them. So in the description box under the video, if you will click on the down arrow, you will see timestamps for each of the different topics. If you're on a computer, all you have to do is click on the blue highlighted timestamp and it will jump you right to it. If you're on a mobile device, you have to fast forward. But anyway, maybe that'll be helpful. Now there's a bee after me. Hello y'all, gardeners out there. Well, we're going to talk about bugs today, and I'm going to show you what we use to spray for the majority of the bugs, exactly how we do it, and with the help of Mr. Farmer Brown. We actually did the spraying and the filming of that a couple days ago, but now I'm here to talk to you about what to do. I have a 7 kind of prong approach to beating back the bugs. And I have it all on my website, farmerbrownsparadise.com, so guess what? You don't have to take notes if you don't want to. You're welcome. So, prong number 1, which is the most important thing, is growing healthy plants. If the plant is healthy with a strong immune system, they have natural defenses against disease and pests. One of the most important things that I do to create healthy plants is to use compost tea. There's another bug. And you guys already know this because I've talked about it on my Facebook group page a lot, and I've done a couple of videos of how to brew compost tea. I feed them weekly, except for the 2 gutters that I'm doing experiments on. Everything else is getting fed the compost tea weekly, both foliar feed and root drench. Now, there is another product that I haven't talked to you about that you can foliar spray or root drench by itself. You can foliar spray, root drench with your compost tea. And guess what? You can even add it to your mixture that I'm going to tell you about for killing the bugs, dealing with the bugs. But number 1, healthy plants must be a priority. Another thing about healthy plants is the watering. You know, you can have too much or too little. That's one of the main reasons that Randy and I converted all of our gardens to gutters, to the rain gutter grow system, and then we also grow corn in a kiddie pool grow system. Sunlight, make sure your gardens are positioned in the right spot for optimum light. Proper airflow is very important with plants. That's why I tried to keep mine pruned. I call them sweaty plants when they're all just bunched up together and there's just so much foliage that they don't even all get a lot of light. But airflow is key, especially in a region of the country like I live in that's very, very humid. So I keep everything pruned. Soil conditions could definitely be another reason why your plants aren't in their optimum health. which since we container garden, that's another reason why we make potting mix, because we know exactly what's in it. We know it's a balanced pH. Any amendments I add to my soil, I know what I'm putting in. I know the amounts I'm putting in, and it's not buying bagged products that I have no idea what's in them. Even if they say on the back of the bag, they very rarely list percentages of what they've put in it. The second prong or strategy that I use in combating pests is with companion planting. A lot of you already know that too. I did a 5-part series. It's on my blog. There are videos embedded in it, that the YouTube videos that coordinate with each of the types of plants that you can plant to combat the pests. Some will deter the pests just from their smell. Others will serve as trap crops for the pests because they like them better than maybe some of your garden vegetables. Now, other than those two things up front, when you do have pests that appear, then you've got to start doing some things in your garden to combat it. So, number 3 is manually pick them off. I keep a bucket of soapy water out near the gardens, and as I walk through them at least once a day, sometimes twice or more, if I see a pest that I can brush off into the soapy water, I will. In fact, I had a Japanese beetle that was crawling around up here that I smushed, and I was going to show it to you, but when I flung my fly swatter, it went somewhere. But the Japanese beetles have already shown up. Hate those boogers. And by the way, if you have Japanese beetles, the best time of day to brush them off into their soapy water death is very early in the morning. They're slow moving then, and then again toward the evening at sunset. The fourth line of defense is a simple blast of water. There are some pests, such as aphids, for example, that with a water blast you can knock them off your plants. That is something that you have to do several days in a row, and if that doesn't work, then you need to go to step 5. Strategy number 5 is not to use straight water, but to add a little insecticidal soap in the water. Now, I've spoken about insecticidal soap before when I did the video on the fungal stuff where I use a product called Actinovate, but I'm going to go over it again real quickly here in case you didn't see that video and this might be new information to you. I never ever use dish soap. Dish soap is a detergent, and it's a detergent so that it will cut oils and grease and wax. I mean, that's why we use it with our dishes, right? It's also why they used it whenever there are oil spills, to remove the oily tar off of the fowl that seemed to get caught in the spill somehow in the water. So if you understand a little bit about plants, every plant leaf has a protective coating on it. It's kind of a waxy, thin coating. If you use a dish soap either at too strong a dilution or too frequently, you can end up stripping the wax protection off of your plant's leaves, leaving them very wide open to pests and disease pathogens. So I never use dish soap. The only soap that I will use that is, I feel, safe in the garden is Dr. Bronner's Sal's Suds soap. Now, one caveat here. Dr. Bronner's also makes a Castile soap. I don't use the Castile soap either, and the reason for that is because Castile soap can react with the minerals in your water, and it can leave a film, a soap scum residue on your leaves, potentially blocking the pores of the leaf. The stomatas are on the underneath side of the leaves. That's where they breathe. You don't want to clog them up. So if you're using Dr. Bronner's insecticidal soap, Spinosad soap, you don't need very much at all for just a soap water mixture. 1 to 1.5 teaspoons is all I put in if I'm just using soap and water. You put it in a sprayer, and then you go after spraying the bad bugs. One thing about all of these sprays, whether it's for the fungicide that the video I did before or any of these that I'm about to mention, always spray in the evening, because with soap, for example, what kills the bug by using the soap is that it dehydrates them. It breaks through their exoskeleton, dehydrates them, and they die. You can kill a bee also with soap if you were to accidentally hit it while you were spraying, or if a bee was in a flower and you were to spray it, you'd kill it. So wait until the end of the day when the bees have gone to Betty bite. Now, number 6 is the most effective strategy that I use in the garden to beat back the bugs, to kill the bugs, the pests. And the reason being is because it works on over 90% of the insects. But before I get into that, I'm going to talk a lot about it. I said it only works on 90% of the insects. There are some insects that it will not kill, specifically caterpillars, large caterpillars. So for those, that's strategy number 7. For those large caterpillars, there's one of 2 organic products that I will use. The first one is called BT. It is a bacteria that's found in the soil, and it is a very effective pesticide against caterpillars. Now, if you use BT, I would still spray it in the evening. This time, not because it's harmful to the beneficial insects, because it's not. It's very safe to use around them, but it photodegrades very quickly. So if you were to spray in the sunlight, you'd lose all the potential of the product very, very quickly. And it doesn't have a long residual anyway. You need to repeat spray BT about every 3 days until the insects are gone. Now, if you knew it was going to be a cloudy day all day long, then you could get away with spraying it during the day. But remember, if it's a cloudy day and it's going to rain, that's not good either, because it will wash the product off of the plant. BT is not an on-contact killer. The way it works is you spray it on the leaves, the bugs start feeding, and when they do, they immediately, within a few minutes, stop eating. It doesn't kill them right away. It takes a little bit of time for the poison to kill them, usually 2 or 3 days. But you want to repeat spray that BT about every 3 days, just to make sure that you have eradicated all of the ones that are in your garden. The BT brand that I have is Safer, S-A-F-E-R. Now, another product, also organic, also a bacteria, that I have used, that I have in my arsenal, is a product called Spinosad. Spinosad is a little bit more effective than BT. It will kill more bugs and more adult stages of bugs. The downside to Spinosad is that it is harmful to bees. You need to spray it definitely in the evening when the bees are gone. And you also should never use Spinosad spraying plants that are already starting to flower. The reason being is because that product can stay around on the plant for up to 2 days. So if that's the case and a bee came the next day and you had sprayed maybe the flower and it ingested any of it, it would kill the bees. So you have to be pretty careful with using Spinosad. The brand that I have is Captain Jack's Dead Bug. Got it at Lowe's, but I'm sure there are others out there. So going back now to number 6, which is the strategy that I use most of the time in the garden as a preventative. I spray it, I want to say every week, but in reality it's probably closer to every 2 weeks, just because time can get away from me, or if I don't see a real problem, my plants are really super healthy. The other issue is rain. We get a lot of rain, and I always spray my neem on the weekends because Randy helps me with that. So it doesn't always work out that I get it sprayed every week, but definitely I try to do it at least every 2 weeks. The other product you mix with the neem, which is a horticultural oil, again, is the insecticidal soap, Dr. Bronner's Spinosad soap. The third thing that I like to put in with the neem is a product called RidBugs. Now, why do I put that in there? I use it because RidBugs will kill the eggs of insects, and neem will not touch the eggs. There is a fourth product that I have not shared before that I sometimes mix with the neem, and I'll tell you why the sometimes part in a minute. And that is a product called Pure Protein. It's made by Organic Ag Products. The Boogie Brew company where I purchased my tea also sells that product. If you have never tried Pure Protein on your plants, you don't know what you're missing. Now, why mix it in with the neem mixture? Well, it just depends on convenience. I'm out there spraying anyway, and it is one product that mixes well with neem, doesn't affect either product. But most of the time I mix it with my compost tea, or I just spray it all by itself on the leaves and even do a root drench. I'm going to be showing you a little bit more about that product as we go along. Some of you, well, if you're on my Facebook group page, you know I'm doing experiments. I haven't shared those on the YouTube channel, only on my group page. But on YouTube, I am going to video spraying just the Pure Protein on my plants, and then I'm going to wait about 4 or 5 days, and we're going to see the difference in those days. You'll probably have your mind blown. Lastly, the water. You're like, why are you talking about water? Well, because you need to make sure, especially if you're doing an organic garden, that you are not using municipal water. All city water has chlorine or chloramine chemicals in them to kill all the biological activity in the water. That needs to be removed prior to using it in your garden, whether you're just watering it or mixing up these sprays. I would recommend that you get if you're using municipal water, that you get think about what it's called, a hose mount filter. It will filter out all of those nasty chemicals that you don't want to be putting on your plants. Again, the Boogie Brew company, I think they sell 3 different types, like a basic, a medium, and the, I don't know, Boogie Blast or whatever it is. I don't have to worry about that because we have fantastic well water. But if I were using city water, I would definitely buy a filter for it. So why neem oil? Well, first of all, it is organic. It comes from the neem tree. They take the seeds and they process it. Cold pressed is the best one to get, and they get the oils out of the seeds that way. Now, there are several benefits to using neem. You know, with chemical pesticides, bugs keep developing resistances to the pesticides, and they have to keep creating stronger and stronger poisons. It doesn't happen with neem. The bugs don't develop any kind of resistance to the compounds that are in neem
that effectively kill them. Of all the oils that you'll hear about different people using in their gardens, the neem oil is the least clogging to the stomata, to the pores on the leaves, and that's very important. You can even use neem if you have a heavy infestation. You can use it every 3 days for up to 2 weeks, because that's usually about the life cycle of the majority of insects. Now, I will say this: after I spray the neem on the weekends, sometime midweek, I usually wait at least 3 days, 3 or 4 days, and I feed my plants with a compost tea. And that is giving the plants a very, very good wash. If you don't brew compost tea or do any kind of foliar feeds, but you do the neem spray, I would still recommend that you go back at least once every other time you spray the neem. Go back like the 3rd or 4th day and just give them a good rinse if it hasn't rained. The second reason that I like to use neem is because it works. As I mentioned earlier, it will kill 90% of the targeted insects that you're going to have in your garden. It kills soft-bodied insects on contact. It's basically the oil smothers them, and with the soap part of the mix also, the soap dehydrates them, the oil smothers them, so they kill them pretty quickly. Now, it will also, just the smell will repel other insects, but for those really tough chewers that will continue to chew anyway, it doesn't bode well for them either. There is a compound in the neem as a reductant, and that compound interferes and interrupts the hormonal systems of the insect. Therefore, it kind of stops their feeding and their mating and their egg laying and just their overall growth. If you'd like to see a list, it's kind of a partial list, but a list nevertheless of the insects that neem targets, you can look at my website, farmerbrownsparadise.com, and look for the article. Let's see, what did I call the article? I called the article Beating Back the Bugs in the Garden. So that list is there if you'd like to look at it. Okay, the last reason that I like to use the neem oil is because it is a healthy pesticide. And you're like, what? Healthy? Yep, healthy. There are many research claims that neem oil actually makes the plant leaves healthier and is considered in a foliar fertilizer. And did you know that, like, for example, pro rose growers use neem oil consistently for the growth and the beauty and the development of their roses? Another reason it's a healthy pesticide is because it is safe to use. It's not harmful to birds or bees or pets or humans. It's non-toxic. So I'd a lot rather be using something like that in my garden than something where I have to really cover up with a mask and all that jazz. They will tell you, because every product seems to do that, all these different cautions. Some will say to wear a mask. It doesn't bother us. It doesn't give us any kind of side effects when we spray the neem. Another reason it is healthy is because the fatty acids in the neem oil are beneficial to the soil food web. In fact, they have something called the neem cake. So after they process the neem from the oil from the seeds, the residue that's left, they collect that, and that's called the neem cake. And people sell that to use as a soil conditioner. And finally, neem oil has some fungicidal properties to it too. The compounds in neem, let me give you the list here. It helps to prevent some fungal diseases such as mildew, black spot, rust, rot, scab, leaf spot, and some forms of blight. And it can control some fungus when it's already on the plant. So those are the reasons why I choose to use neem. Now let's talk about choosing the right neem, buying the right product. Okay, I've already mentioned that you should be buying 100% pure neem. I don't know that I have ever seen 100% pure cold pressed neem in the big box stores. I always have to order it online. You'll see brands like Safer and Bonide, but only 70% is neem, and then at 30% are other additives, and they don't disclose what the other additives are. Is that a problem? Sure is for me. In fact, one of the members, I think it was Carol Kelly, shout out to Carol Kelly, she's a member on my Facebook group page. She posted an article the other day, and I actually put the information in my blog. There was a brand, Southern Ag Triple Action Neem Oil. And you know, it even had the OMRI label on it. OMRI is the Organic Materials Review Institute. If it's considered organic and it has an OMRI stamp, then you're supposed to be able to trust it. You're supposed to be able to trust it. But the thing is about this product, the first thing I looked at on the label is, again, it said that it was 70% neem oil. I don't think it said pure. It could have been an extraction and not pure cold pressed. But it had 30% other ingredients, again, not listed. Well, the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture just notified customers that they did some lab testing on this product and found that it contained the presence of 3 chemical pesticides. I can't even pronounce them. Malathion, chlorpyrifos, and permethrin. We've all heard of that one, but the middle one, chlorpyrifos, is a restricted use pesticide. It's only supposed to be used in certain agricultural settings and never for home use. So I guess my point is, buyers beware. You want the cold pressed form of the neem because you're going to get the most active ingredients in it if it's cold pressed. Heat can destroy the azadirachtin in the product, and that's the compound that is the Mac Daddy part of the neem. And having said that, be sure to keep your neem stored between 65 and 95 degrees. I keep mine in the house. I keep it in the laundry room. Now when I go to use it, it's usually thickened up a little bit because we keep our house pretty cool. But all you need to do is either run it under some warm water, the bottle, under some warm water, or stick it in a bowl of warm water. Don't use hot, because again, heat can destroy the azadirachtin. Now the other products in the mix, the Dr. Bronner's, the Pure Protein, the RidBugs, I've talked a little bit about those. I would suggest that you, if you want to know more, go to my website, pull up this article, because I do give you more information about all of those things. And if you want to see the brands that I like to use, you can go to janetspicks.com. I have a link in the article to that as well, and it shows you the brands that I like to use, and it gives you a link where you can buy them. It may not be the cheapest place to buy them, but at least you can look at the name of the product, read the labels, and then go from there and do a different search to see where you can purchase it the least expensive cost to you. Lastly, before I show you how to mix the neem and show you Randy spraying it, is how to use it, how frequently to use it. I would start at the beginning of your growing season. I usually wait for at least 2 weeks for my transplants to get very well established in the containers. You want to be careful with spraying any kind of oil, any kind of spray, other than compost tea on seedlings and young plants. They're just more vulnerable to problems early on in their stages of growth. I feel like it's best to start fairly early in the season with spraying the neem and also the fungicide actinovate, because that way you're addressing the issue at the time when fungi are starting to just show up for the season. You're also, with the neem especially, dealing with the soft-bodied insects as they start to hatch. Adding the RidBugs in helps kill the eggs. And then also, by starting early in the season, remember there are larvae in the soil, not necessarily just in your containers if you're container gardening, but everywhere in your yard that have overwintered, and those moths are going to start hatching. So you want to address it early in the season and go throughout the whole growing period. Also in the article, I cover pretty specifically what you don't want to spray neem on, and not because it's toxic, but really just because it's hard to rinse all of it off, forever off. With these specific vegetables, it's just really hard to clean it, and the neem tastes kind of bitter. So I don't use the neem spray on any of our greens that we grow. Lettuces, spinach, kale, rhubarb, and all the greens. And then the vegetables that don't have skin on them, like your cole crops, broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, things like that. For those, they're all cool season vegetables and mostly grown in the fall for me. So for those, I'm going to go back to my top steps that I started out listing at the beginning, to include companion planting and water blasts and just a soap water mix. There is a new product that I haven't tried yet that I've listed in my blog here. There is a member of our group. Man, I just read it today. I want to say it's Terry, but you'll know who you are. She just tried this product on some spinach that was covered in aphids, and she said it worked great. It is a citric acid based product that's supposed to be a fungicide and a pesticide, organic, all in one. It's called the Amazing Dr. Zymes Eliminator. Again, you do have to spray in the evening, and the only thing that concerned me about it is it's in the directions on their website. It says to test spray a plant. Well, that's a little concerning to me, to test spray a plant to make sure that it doesn't damage it. It can create, if you spray it in the sun, it can create phytotoxicity, which is basically going to kill your plant, toxic to your plant. So that wraps the talk up. Now we'll go on to 2 days ago, where I show you how to mix it and Randy shows you how to spray. It is now much later in the afternoon. The sun is going down, it's behind all the trees, so it is time to spray. So I'm going to show you now exactly how I mix and what the measurements are. I start with a jar with warm water in it. Now remember, you don't want to use hot water, because hot water will kill the azadirachtin that's in the neem, and we don't want that. So, the neem. I keep my neem in the house, and our house is pretty cool, so it was a little on the thick side. So I just ran some warm water over the bottle to make the viscosity flow. So for 1 gallon, you want to use 2 tablespoons. I'm actually mixing up enough for 2 gallons. Messy. So I'll be using 4 tablespoons of the soap. Doesn't take very much, especially in the sprayer that we use, which I'll talk to you about in just a second. So, you know, 1.5 to 2 teaspoons of the Dr. Bronner's Spinosad soap per gallon of water. So I'm just going to use 3 teaspoons. About time for me to get some more soap. Gosh, I've had this soap for 4 years. And then lastly, the RidBugs product. Somebody mentioned to me the other day on my group page that I neglected to tell them how stinky RidBugs is. Yeah, it's stinky. You're supposed to use 2 ounces for every gallon, and that is 4 tablespoons. Might not have gotten a big enough jar here for me to be mixing 2 gallons worth. Oh. We'll just have to see how that goes. Make sure it's really screwed on tight now, because if you see my other videos, half the time they shake out. All right, you see everything is separated, but when you shake it up like a milkshake, then you have your Neem RidBugs soap milkshake, which you are going to add to your sprayer. Now I'll speak a moment about the sprayers. Just a regular garden sprayer is perfectly fine to use. You do need, though, to shake it up, keep it agitated every little bit while you're spraying. It's also very important when you finish to clean out your sprayer. And that is at the moment that you can actually use this dish soap detergent, because it will, remember, cut the grease, cut the oil. So you want to use it then to clean out your sprayer, rinsing it several times afterwards, making sure you've removed all of the soap. Now this sprayer is one that we purchased either 3 or 4 years ago. It is, I call it a fogger. It is an atomizer. It produces an extremely fine mist. It is electric. Forgotten, Hudson I think is the brand name. But we have so many gardens, so many vegetables to spray, so many fruit trees, roses, that we just decided that we were going to invest in this sprayer. I already have not quite 2 gallons in the bucket here. And sorry, it's dirty on the outside. I left it in my greenhouse. The inside was clean, outside not so much. This is heavy for me to use, filling it with 2 gallons. I can manage it if it's just 1 gallon, but with 2 gallons it's pretty heavy, even though it has a little strap here for you to hold on your shoulder. This is the one time throughout the gardening season that Randy helps me. He does the spraying of the neem so that I can mix up the 2 gallons, and he can handle it a lot better than I can. So I have my milkshake, my water is in my sprayer. You want to make sure your water is in your sprayer. I will carefully pour it all in. Now if you have a sprayer like this, you just have to make sure that the seals, the gasket, is on correctly. There. You have it down nice and tight. And one other helpful tip, if you do have a sprayer like this and it seems to be not pressurizing correctly, you just hold your hand over the outtake vent for a second and it will come right back to spraying beautifully. So I'll go get Randy and show you how he does it. Well, as you can see, it's got a pretty powerful blast. And it's also pretty quick. Because it's such a fine mist, it just gets all over everything very quickly. Well, that garden bed took 3 minutes. Now we'll go do the other one. Well, I hope this helped. I hope it was informative. And remember, bye, and you ready, Randy?
Ready?
Yeah. Sign off. Have a good one.
Lucy, stop.